I grew up in the 80s and early 90s as a big Star Wars fan, just like most other kids. When the prequels came out in the late 90s, I was of high school age and had different interests by then. Now, nearly 20 years later, I felt it was time to finally watch these controversial films. While I knew the main premises of Anakin one day becoming Darth Vader, it was still very fun to watch each character develop, even if I knew who would live or die in the end. I think as an adult, I could fully appreciate the politics involved in the Senate's decline also. The faster pace of the lightsaber fights was a highlight for me, since it really showed the Jedi how they were capable in their prime. Also, in the fights, the amount of limbs which were taken off without the victim immediately dying was more interesting than a person simply disappearing when they're hit by the lightsaber. As for things I did not like, which there was a lot. First of all, Jar Jar Binks. I couldn't stand when Jar Jar Binks was on the screen. The voice, just none of it worked for me. R2-D2 and C-3PO are great little secondary characters, and they have funny chemistry, but Jar Jar had no redeeming qualities to me. Add that with the fact that he's bad 90s CGI, and I think the films would have just been much better off without him. That takes me to my next point, the CGI. Certainly my least favorite part of these films was the abundance of CGI, and not even good CGI. A lot of it was pointless environmental stuff. It was really distracting, and it just made me long for the original trilogy and its charming practical effects. As for the actors, I thought Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor were great in their roles, as was the ever-charming Natalie Portman. I did not, however, like either of the Anakin actors as much for their roles. It was fun that Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, and Frank Oz came back to voice their original characters again. I didn't rate the films very highly, with the first two being 6 out of 10 and the third being 7 out of 10, but Revenge of the Sith was my favorite of the three, as it was more refined visually and it contained the major arcs, setting up the storylines for the original trilogy. I thought a lot of what happened in Revenge of the Sith felt rushed though, like they were trying to make as many tie-ins as possible. I enjoyed watching the prequel movies, but I'm even more excited to rewatch the original trilogy after 20 years or so. Leave any questions or comments below. Thanks.